this show. I'm glad everybody that tuned in on the first segment. Hope most of you come back. We will begin to get into our NBA segment of the day. But before we get into that, we will talk a little bit about this MLB thing. Include Mel. Thanks for tuning in. I mentioned that in my news and updates that the Major League Baseball is now going to include the Negro Leagues into the statistics of as a major league. So one of the quotes is, and I quote from the Major League Baseball on Wednesday, says, correcting a long-time oversight in the game's history by elevating the Negro Leagues on the centennial of its founding. End quote. I think that's pretty good. Like I said, the Negro Leagues ran from about 1920 to 1948. They began to fizzle out after Jackie Robinson became the first black player to make it into the major leagues. Those leagues were excluded in 1969 when the Special Committee on Baseball Records identified 6 official major leagues dating to 1876. And quote, it is MLB's view that the committee's 1969 commission of the Negro Leagues from of the Negro Leagues from consideration was clearly an error that demands today's designation. Okay, so that is the lead statement on what they felt was some wrongdoing on the committee's behalf. So you're looking at a lot of players, like I mentioned, who could have some stats adjusted. One, for instance, Willie Mays. Okay. Could be credited with 17 hits from his 1948 season with the Alabama Black Barons. Okay. There's another guy Satchel Paige, who currently is credited with 28 major league wins, should add at least 146 to his total. Yes, Richard says, such a travesty. These men should have been in there when alive to celebrate their achievements. Absolutely. And I'm looking at this and I'm seeing this. Thanks for tuning in, Robert Reeves. Rich, I'm looking at this now that you brought that up, and I'm seeing what's going on, and I'm giving accolades to them adjusting the stats and adding the stats to it. It's a little weird to me because I'm going to a place where I'm thinking, but how are they going to recognize the families for these accomplishments? Just another thought that I just, sometimes I get crazy thoughts like that, and I think, and sometimes I have to say them out loud, but nonetheless, yeah, that was a thought of mine as well. Josh Gibson, who had a 4.41 batting average in 1943, would mark the best season ever. Okay. Now, I also quote, say, we couldn't be more thrilled by this recognition of significance of the Negro Leagues in Major League Baseball history, said Edward Schauder, legal representative for the Gibson's estate and co-founder for the Negro Leagues Player Association. Again, I quote, and he says, Josh Gibson was a legend who would have certainly been a top player in the major leagues if he had been allowed to play, end quote. So there you have that. And again, somewhat kudos to the major leagues for doing that, but it should have been done a long time ago. So there you have that. So I am going to now bring you up to speed on the NBA scores from Sunday. And let's get right into it. The Mavs beat the Clippers 124-73. The Spurs fall to the Pelicans 95-98. The Magic defeat the Wizards 120-113. The Nets fall to the Hornets, 106-104. The Sixers fall to the Cavs, will get demolished by the Cavs 118-94. The Bucks lose by a dub to the Knicks 110-130. The Warriors edge out on a last-second buzzer beater. The Bulls 129-128. Celtics fall by 1 to the Pacers 108-107. The Suns take the Kings 116-100. Timberwolves fall to the Lakers 121-91. So there you have it. Those are your scores from Sunday's NBA action. So NBA is underway. NBA began on the 22nd, which is my birthday, as you all remember. So thanks for all the birthday shouts. Thanks for all the belated birthday shouts to everyone. NBA started December 22nd. There are some things to talk about locally, some things to talk about nationally. So I say that to say that I know and understand Philadelphia fans, and I'm jumping right in and making reference to yesterday's game. I know Philadelphia fans. It was, like they say, like Jay-Z once said, it was all good just a week ago. 2-0 starting out, and you get there and you just lay an egg against the Cleveland Cavaliers, helping them improve to 3-0 for the first time in God knows how long. Joel Embiid did not play because of back tightness. So you start Dwight Howard. And like we continually say, in Dwight Howard, we know what we have in a backup center. Yesterday was not a good showing, considering how they played in games 1 and game 2. It was kind of like that Jekyll and Hyde thing. The light switch was on first 2 games. Light switch was off game 3. Not even dimmed, it was off. 20 plus turnovers is not going to get you a win in the NBA against anybody. Okay. On an average, if they score on every possession, let's break it down and just say 20 turnovers. You know basketball, you count by 2s, 3s, and then 1 free throws and 1. So we're not even counting free throws in there. For sakes of hypotheticals, we're going to take the 3-pointer out. And you have 20 turnovers at least. And let's say they score on every turnover. Come on, people. We all know the math. It's 40 points that you just gave away. And like I said, I didn't count the 3. I was playing devil's advocate. I went hypothetical when I just said 2. The normal bucket. Yes, Richard says they were all flat. They came out, thought they could show up and play. 21 turnovers, 7 by Simmons. Absolutely. I could very easily say there were some questionable calls. But again, I'm not going to dwell on that. I'm not going to harp on that because that's been the going rate in a couple of professional sports the past several years. So we're not going to add that into the mix. We're going to call a spade, and we're going to talk about the players who performed on the court. Again, the coach can only put you in the best position to win. If your players don't step up, then you have a problem. There's a communication problem. There's something else. In a lot of ways, yesterday, they looked like the teams that Brett Brown coached often, who guys were unsure what they were supposed to do, unsure of when to take a shot. Okay, Lynch, try turning it up a little bit. And they really, really, really played flat, like Richard said, really flat. Excuse me for this technical difficulties here. Yeah. So they really came out flat. And I guess they figured they just beat the Knicks. They're playing against Cleveland. They just figured that they were more talented on paper, which they are. And they just figured that they could just walk right in there and do pretty much whatever they want to, just go through the motions and get that win. This is the NBA. teams like Cleveland, like I said, I like what they did against New York. No offense, Lynch. I'm just talking basic basketball here, so I'm going to take the teams out for a second. What they did the other night, a team that they should beat because of the talent levels, comparison of talent levels, they beat. Took them a little bit to get it right, but they eventually got it right, and they won. So my guess or my assumption is that they looked at Cleveland in that same light. It's a team we should beat. So let's just go ahead and get this game. Big fella's not playing. So when the big fella's not playing, Tobias had a little bit better game yesterday, but you definitely need more. We all know how the situation is with Joel Embiid and Andre Drummond. So like Allah said, or someone said on the TV broadcast yesterday that I was watching, said his name, when he found out that Joel Embiid wasn't playing, he probably lit up. Again, going back to that reference, he probably felt like he had the golden ticket to Willy Wonka's. I think one of the things the players should have done, was let Dwight Howard, I think, should have established himself a little bit more physically on the offensive end. When you got guys that are playing as free as they are or thinking they can play as free as they are, and you have a viable substitute, you have to at least make them play on the defensive end. Make them work on the defensive end. Because we all know Dwight Howard's going to make you work on his end, on the defensive end. On your offensive end, he's going to make you work. So you got to return the favor and make them work on their defensive end. Guys have to stop standing around. When Joel's in the game, they move, they give him the space to operate, but they get to their spots. And this is just because everybody was standing on the perimeter yesterday. There was it didn't seem like there was any offense being run yesterday at all. Let's see. Richard says, this team isn't good enough or seasoned enough or just show up. The Cavs were missing 2 starters and Love went out in the game. Absolutely. Yeah. They have to go out and play with their talent. They have to go out and play like the Cavs played against them yesterday. JoJo was also, and for all intent purposes, they lost by 24. JoJo's averaging 27. So you could arguably say if Joe had played, he gets his average, they win by 3. But we take that out the picture because that wasn't the case. And I think Danny Green has to get more involved in the offense. I'm not liking seeing him playing minimal minutes and getting minimal shots. I think we have to get him into the offense. Although he is still, I see him talking to players, doing things and whatever on the court as a leader, a veteran, champion should. I need to see him in the offense more, incorporate in the offense more. I need to see Seth a little bit more, because we still struggle for that player that can definitely get his own shot off the dribble. Shake is starting to show that on certain nights coming off the bench, but he's young, not really that seasoned yet, so it's not really what you can bank on right now. Is this going to be a recurring thing, load management with Joel? I hope not. And, I understand if they say back stiffness because of the way he played in the first 2 games. So I give you that one. I give you this one. We'll see down the line how it plays out the rest of the way. Getting back into it, I almost sit here and think that I want certain moments Danny Green or Seth to just take over in the offense. I was saying that, it's been a while. Like I was talking about Shake, and I said he showed from time to time to be able to create and get his own shot, but he's young, not seasoned yet. Maxey shows that he can get to the rim and create off the dribble too. Still a rookie, so really not even, barely toe deep, if you will, in the water in 3 games into an NBA season. So I feel like when JoJo's there, we do have to definitely play inside outside, because we've seen what he can do so far, what the true JoJo can do with the proper spacing. Shake needs time. He will get better as the season will go on, and love Maxey. He will get better too. Yeah, definitely, Rich. They're both, I think, going to get better. I think Shake has finally found, or Doc has finally found the right role for Shake. So we'll see how he keeps, like, he didn't play too bad yesterday. Of course, it was just a funk over everyone. He made a couple bad plays, but everybody did yesterday. So it was just a funk. But in that small span, he played okay. Again, I think I would like to see Danny Green or maybe even Seth Curry at time for maybe a couple minute span stretches take over. Get the ball, you get your shot, and you do it. Green has got to get more involved. He seems to be lost out there getting his shot. Seth, yes, I love it. That's why I say, Rich, and I think that, like I said, I see, and we all have seen in the first 2 games, how JoJo can be dominant. So I think we need to continue to work that, keep him as close as possible. And again, I'm okay with the turnaround fadeaway, the somewhat Hakeem Shake and fadeaway jumper. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the foul line extended. And ironically, I'm okay with the 3-pointers that he has shot in this season so far. And I say that because I've seen one where the clock was running down and he had to shoot it, but he was wide open. A couple others, plays broke down. Ben was posting. He just happened to be on the perimeter. Again, wide open. Shoot it. It's what you get paid to do. What Jimmy Butler used to tell him. Shoot it. Now, the other issue is the continuing issue. I keep getting tips. I keep getting reports. And I've seen some footage. Ben Simmons has been working with Sam Cassell. Let's see. I like when he shoots 1 to 3 3-pointers a game for the most part. Has to be on the block. Yeah, I agree. That's why I said, Rich, the ones that he shot weren't like plays set up for him to shoot that 3. It just happened to be a reverse with post players, or the play broke down and he was already where he was. But wide open, yeah, them 1 to 3, I'm fine with that. Getting back to what I was getting into, I've seen tips and I've gotten tips and I've seen reports, seen some video. Sam Cassell working with Ben Simmons in practice, shooting that foul line extended jump shot. I like Ben as a player. I love him as a defensive player. And in some ways, this is proving some of the things, or one of the things that I have said when this all started with him at the point guard from Brett Brown, and what I said. And people, if you don't remember what I said, what I always said that after he was announced as being the point guard and people were saying, yeah, he's the point guard, this and that and the other, a lot of today's basketball has gotten away from position basketball. It's a lot of positionless basketball. But one of the things I also mentioned, and I continually said it and I stick by this, Ben Simmons is not a point guard. Ben Simmons is playing point guard. Now, just to interrupt the Sixers stuff in this area, I have to bring this point up and break this down for you people, so people that are tuned in that may have not heard me say that, may not understand what I mean by that. Ben Simmons in college had a point guard. Ben Simmons in high school had a point guard. And I say that to mean some other player that was playing that position. Ben Simmons was great in transition. High school, college. does not make him a point guard. Ben Simmons has a high basketball IQ. He looks to make the correct basketball play more times than not. No issues with that. He was given the ball and designated the point guard, had that successful 2017 year, yada, 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 went on, and then he stayed there. And we are where we are today with him playing the point guard position. One of the toughest positions in the NBA to come in and play as a young player. And I still consider Ben a young player because he's been only in the league, 4 years, 3-4 years, whatever, maybe. Yeah, 3-4 years, whatever. But one of the toughest, if not the toughest position to come in and play, especially if you had no experience or extended experience playing that position, is the point guard in the NBA. You are the extension of the coach on the floor with your teammates. So for him to have never played the actual point guard position prior to the NBA is tough. It's a learning process. I get it. I understand. Hence, one of the things that I loved about the Washington game when it got late in the game, and I'm sure Doc was just feeling some things out because it's their first game. And I mean, come on, it's 3 games in. I'm just telling you my analysis of yesterday. I'm not saying I'm jumping ship. I'm not saying the season is out the water. None of that. I'm just giving you my take on what I saw yesterday. Again, getting back to what I was talking about with Ben Simmons and playing the point guard, I liked one of the things that Doc did against the Wizards, where late in that fourth quarter, Shake had been playing well. He kept Ben Simmons on the floor, but he put the ball in Shake's hands. Late in that game, Ben Simmons got stretching here, maybe. I can't remember exactly numbers. Rasheen, thanks for tuning in. Can't remember exact numbers, but 2 key steals, 2 key buckets to help seal that win against the Wizards. Okay. Shake has played point guard before. He played point guard at SMU under Larry Brown. So he has some time there. Not saying he's right now, as I've always said, Shake is better coming off the bench right now, and maybe he can grow into an NBA starter. I think, again, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, I think Doc and him have found the right role for him right now on this team. But when your key guy is out, Joel Embiid, and this is leading me right into what I'm getting ready to say. Richard Drummond says Ben just has to shoot the 10-footer. Defensively, he is all pro, maybe 3-5 times a game. He could be a point forward, like you said, positionless NBA. He needs to hit the jumper and post up like he did at the end of the Wizards game. Yes, absolutely, Rich. So he has 2 former NBA point guards on his coaching staff, his head coach and Sam Cassell. Very good point guards. Sam Cassell won 2 championships with the Houston Rockets. Doc Rivers had a very good career as a point guard in the NBA. And I'm sure they are talking to him and teaching him, or trying to teach him some of the nuances of being a point guard if they're going to leave it that way. But what I was getting to or alluding to initially was the fact that I've been seeing reports and getting tips and seeing video that Sam Cassell has been shooting. We're working with him on shooting foul line extended jumpers in the paint. And my only issue with that is it's great to see it in practice when there's nobody guarding you. But you now have to transfer that and have that same mentality when you get on the court in live action. A lot of people have been saying if he does get that jump shot, he could be LeBron-esque. Maybe, not sure. But LeBron worked on his game and got his jump shot together, yada, yada, yada. My point there is you playing the point guard, and I'm not going to reference Magic Johnson so people don't get upset. You being the point guard at 6'10", there are going to be more times than not the other team's point guard guarding you, because usually point guards guard point guards. If you get that foul line extended jump shot, you're shooting over the top. In a lot of ways, a la Kevin Durant. No matter who it is, you're shooting over the top. Let's just say Kevin Durant is playing this small forward. Sometimes they move him to the 2-pot, arguably in this somewhat positionless and then always positionless basketball with the small ball and things of that nature. So even 2 and 3 for Kevin Durant, a lot of times he's shooting over his defender. So with Ben Simmons, it could be the same thing, but you've got to shoot that. A lot of people are still talking about they want him to shoot 1 to 2 threes a game. I really don't need to see him shoot a 3. I need him to stay where he lives, go downhill, but add that foul line mid-range jump shot. Because again, that's what Kobe used as the killer. It's what a lot of people use as a killer. And you can grow into the three-pointer, yes. But I would definitely love to see you shoot that mid-range, foul line extended. Because again, you're going to be shooting over players that are guarding you. Richard chimes in again. He says, Ben has to become more aggressive, especially when Joel is not playing. He has to become more dominant and want to score. Yes. He can't be afraid to take shots. Who cares if you miss some? Yes, they at least have to defend you. Absolutely. This opens up the lane and it stops defenses from sagging in. And I think, now that you brought that up, Rich, thank you. I think some of what you just said could be part of the reason why Danny Green may look confused on the offense. We know the corner 3 is his shot. And I'm just thinking of this as you say this, Richard, and I'm running highlights back in my head. He also chimes in. He says, Michael Jordan made his living at the mid-range jumper, and mid-range jumper is the lost art of the NBA. Absolutely. Now, what I'm getting, just in defense of Danny Green, I'm thinking of, like I said, I'm flashing highlights from 3 games with the Sixers so far. And then I'm immediately jumping to San Antonio Spurs, Toronto Raptors, and LA Lakers. And again, like I said, LeBron is beginning to shoot that mid-range jump shot. But then you got Anthony Davis. So Lakers is a little tough. Let's stay Toronto and San Antonio. San Antonio, you had, when he was there, you had guys that could step in and shoot that mid-range jumper. Now, like you said, Rich, somebody has to guard that player shooting that mid-range jumper. So now it's harder for you to cheat. It's harder for you to double. And it creates a little bit of space because now, because you are hitting that mid-range jumper, the person that's guarding that corner 3 has to sometimes take a peek and see what's going on off of his shoulder. He may need the help for the drop pass to the big or something like that. So at that point, I get where Danny Green was comfortable. That's not clicking as of yet with the Sixers right now. Then I look at Toronto. Again, you got your guards, Van Vliet and Kyle Lowry. Then you had, for that 1 year, you had Kawhi and Siakam, guys that utilize the mid-range, that make defenders sag in, that create that space where, again, that wing corner 3 defender sometimes has to look, may even have to cheat in. And with the consistency of shooting, not making it all the time, but the consistency of shooting that mid-range jump shot gives him maybe a step off, a half a step off, if the ball gets kicked there and he's got to get back. And Danny being 6'8" can get that shot off. So that's what I was thinking when I said a little while back that at some point, in some moments in some of these games, even though it's only 3, I felt like because the closest that we have in our starting 5 as aggressive and aggressive as getting to or getting into their own shot is Steph Curry, in my opinion. So I think that at some point, Steph Curry, in some motions, in some plays, may have to just take over and create a little bit, or give the facade, or give the facade of creating, so that that defense can create a little bit more space for Danny Green. I mean, of course, you would have to go opposite side of Joel so you don't force the double in tight quarters. That way, you still have operating room, because, folks, if you think about it, we all know basketball, it's still the triangle. If you got somebody in the mid-range, you got Danny Green in the corner, you got Joel opposite side on the block or close to the block. That's your triangle. Nobody said it had to be a perfect triangle, but it's still your triangle. Okay? Basic offense. That mid-range jump shot, or that mid-range game, will create the space for both of them. Because especially if you're hitting that mid-range, at some point, just basic basketball, that big, whether it be Joel or the power forward or whoever, is going to have to cheat. It's going to cheat off. Then you can, make the right pass, drop to Joel. Or on the opposite way, like I said, that player guarding that wing is going to start hedging in if you're putting some work in that mid-range. He's going to have to start edging in and turning his head. The right quick enough kick with a guy 6'8" who lives in that spot can knock that jump shot down. So, 3 games in, folks, and the Sixers are 2-1. I know and I understand that it's going to take a little bit of time. I know it's a 10-game shortened season, but I think that they will get it together, because, like Ben Simmons said, one thing he said about Doc Rivers, he said that he loves the fact that he'll tell you straight up. He's not going to sugarcoat. He's not going to hide from you. He's going to tell you what you need to do and not give you that false impression of what you need to do or what you should do to succeed or be successful. Rich is saying, agreeing with me, so exactly. They have the triangle, but if you don't shoot the jumper, it breaks down. Absolutely. Because you end up having 2 defenders being able to play 1 person. Then you're outmatched. So we will definitely see. Like I said, I'm one to say that I think it's going to come together. Yeah, the season is early, Rich. They will get it. They'll get it together as the season goes along. And again, it's going to come in practice. You've got a new head coach, new coaching staff, new key players, shortened training camp. So I think it's going to come together. It's just going to take a little bit of time. And now you have a coach that is definitely going to hold these guys accountable and work on it in practice. Have these guys work on it in the film room. Have coaches work with these guys individually to get the job done, to get the best out of them that they can. So that, my friends, is a wrap for today. We definitely got a lot covered, a lot discussed. Thanks to everyone that tuned in. Always, Rich, thanks to you for tuning in as well. Always for chiming in on social media. Like we mentioned to each other on social media, we definitely have to talk about a day to get you in here live so other people can hear your voice and see you too. Nate, thanks for tuning in, bro. So with that being said, tonight's NBA schedule coming up, you got Pistons at Hawks, Grizzlies at Nets, the Jazz are at the Thunder, the Rockets are at the Nuggets, and the Blazers are in La La Land to face off against the LA Lakers. It's your boy D. You have been tuned in to Sports Rap here on Sports Rap Podcast here on Heat 100 Radio. You know where to find me. You can get me iHeartRadio for the podcast or wherever you get your podcast. Facebook, the group Sports Rap Podcast, at SportsRap_D on Instagram and Twitter. Website, sportsrapradio.com, and YouTube, Sports Rap TV. Get at me. Get to me. If you couldn't tune in, video is up or will be up. You know that. Ask me questions. Send me topics. We will get whatever we can get on. You will be acknowledged. And thanks for tuning in, everybody that tunes in here live and also on social media. I will see you next week, when I see you next, when you next hear my voice, we will be into 2021. We'll talk a little bit about how the new year went and how sports played out with all that's going on continually. It's your boy D, signing out. See you next week.